base. Deepstar 6.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 1989 creature feature Deepstar 6. The film is directed by Sean S. Cunningham and it stars Greg Evigan, Nancy Everhard, Miguel Ferrer and Matt McCoy. Now this tells the story of the crew of the Deepstar 6, a group of underwater special people. They work underwater, they're kind of working for the Navy, they're doing this, that and the other, whatever. We're not really bothered about what they do underwater. All we are bothered about is the fact that they kind of break their way through some kind of crater that kind of sets a big beastie upon them, and this creature then runs ragged throughout this crew, and it's a race against time for the crew to kind of make the repairs and get up to the surface before they all get munched. Right, what are my thoughts on Deepstar 6? Well, this obviously came about around the same time as Leviathan and The Abyss. I mean, there was all these underwater like sci-fi horror films that were coming out at that time. You know, it's kind of hard to kind of determine which are the best one. Well, in my opinion, my favourite is The Abyss, and I know that's not a creature feature, but it's just a pretty superb piece of cinema, that. But this is definitely an entertaining, like sci-fi underwater creature feature. Is this as good as Leviathan? Because that's probably its closest rival, I would say. I think they're fairly on par, I suppose. I mean, with this one, it's a long time since I've seen this one, and I watched this obviously to prepare for the review, and it's well over a decade since I've seen this film. But it's a film I used to watch all the time in the 90s. I had it on VHS and stuff, and I had Leviathan as well, and The Abyss and all the kind of films at the time that were kind of doing the underwater thing. And I never really could separate some of them. But this is a very serviceable and at times enjoyable, like underwater kind of sci-fi creature feature. I think there was a point in this film where I was kind of like, this is dull as dishwater and nothing is happening. It takes an awful long time for anything really what you would describe as interesting to happen here. Beyond that, I think it's a good 40, 45, maybe even 50 minutes before you could describe anything like, you know, happening of all of interest in regards to beasties and stuff. But when it actually does start happening, it's fairly relentless from that point on. The crew here are kind of exactly what you would expect for this type of movie. It's like a blueprint from everything you've seen before, whether it's Alien in Space or Leviathan or The Abyss or anything like that. You know, you've got your captain, then you've got your scientist, you've got the doctor, you know, you've got the workers, the repairmen, all this kind of stuff. They all kind of fit in their own little boxes, sort of thing. And other than a couple of standouts, they're all pretty forgettable here. I think the standout performance here in this film is probably undeniably Miguel Ferrer, who plays... I mean, I was about to say he plays the bad guy, but he doesn't kind of play the bad guy, really. He actually plays the slimy creep crew member who is very cowardly. And there are people like that exist, that when they are put in high pressure scenarios, shit themselves basically, and they can't handle the pressure of these scenarios. And this is a guy that not only keeps dropping bollocks and making mistakes, but is also then faced with a giant beastie that is intent on eating him and everybody else. So the pressure just keeps cranking on this character to the point where he just kind of, well, if you've seen the film, quite literally explodes. So I enjoyed his character easily the most, pretty much everybody else is fairly forgettable. I mean, they try and give you the all-American couple here. They've got Greg Evigan and Nancy Everhard, who are on the part of the crew, obviously, but they're in a relationship, and it's all very sweet and nice and lovely. And she's pregnant, and he wants to do right by her, and it's, you know, you're kind of like, oh bless, you know, I want them to survive. But beyond that, there's not a great deal of personality for either of them. But I understand, you know, you do kind of think, well, you know, these are naturally the two characters that you kind of want to survive, even though it does give you a red herring near the film, near the end of the film. Now, the effects here are of a decent standard, I suppose you could say. You know, the underwater stuff works pretty well, and there's not a massive amount of underwater stuff. Most of the action takes place, like, on the rig, if you like, on Deepstar 6. There's a couple of underwater sequences, but nothing extensive, really, is what I would say. And the elephant in the room, I suppose, out of all the creature features that I have watched or reviewed or going to review, I really don't have a lot of time for the creature in this film. It looks terrible. There's no getting around it, really. Now, there is a couple of effective scenes here in the film that really do kind of tick the boxes. There's one, like, where the guy, Matt McCoy's in, like, the dive suit, and he kind of gets chomped in half. That's pretty good. That's a good effective scene. And then there's a scene where they're kind of roaming in the water, and they know it's in there somewhere, they just don't know where. And, you know, probably wasn't the smartest decision to give Miguel Ferrer's character one of those pokey things that kind of blows you up. Because lo and behold, he panics, sticks one of the crew members with it, and they kind of blow up like a balloon and explode. And that's a good scene. That's a fun scene. And obviously, there's the scene where Miguel Ferrer's character is, you know, fails to depressurize, and he fires himself up to the surface and splat. So there are some moments here that stand out. Not enough, though, for me to kind of say this is like one of those outstanding films or anything like that. You know, really cool creature features. You know, it's definitely a one to check out if you've not seen any creature features. But beyond that, it's probably you know, it sits quite comfortably with the creature features of the time when it came out, but it's not aged particularly well. I think that's fair to say. But beyond that, I think it's you know, it's fairly watchable and fairly decent, and there's a certain amount of charm to it. But beyond that, there's not a great deal else to recommend. So, yeah, let me know in the comments, guys, if there are any other creature features that you would like me to check out, and I will, of course, be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.